Okay. Good morning. I know that we'll still have a few people trailing on in. I heard the green line was a bit dodgy this morning. So, but the important thing is speakers are here. Always a good thing. My name is, for those of you that don't know, my name is Jennifer Turner, or Wu Lan in Chinese. You guys don't know yet. You know that, okay. Oh, it's kind of scary. They already know my name in Chinese. Yes, I direct the China Environment Forum here at the Woodrow Wilson Center. I've been here about 10 years now, putting on meetings, putting out publications. We have a lot of online research briefs. My partner in crime is Lyndon Ellis there at the computer. It makes this work, and there are about 3 interns that wander around right now that also help make this shop work. For those of you that are new, I should let you know that you are at the Woodrow Wilson Center, which was created in 1968 by Congress as a memorial to Woodrow Wilson. And in his spirit, we have 23 projects and programs that focus on foreign policy, but not in the necessarily typical ways. We do have regional programs, but we also have specialty programs, nanotech, and country-specific. And the China Environment Forum is unique in that we're not only country-specific, but we also focus on one issue writ large, energy and environment. We also have done some work recently on food safety in China, because food has a lot to do with links with environment. And I'll remind you at the end, but there is going to be a meeting on the Hill next week, a lunch meeting on the Hill called Food Safety in China, a Menu for Change. Okay, so there'll be some information on that. We do have a Hill staffer talking about where the Hill is maybe thinking of taking whatever the Hill is, what direction they're going to take the food safety vis-a-vis China and the world. So just a little side note on that. Today, however, we get to delve into the hot topic of climate change. Now, as you know, climate change is something, I mean, if you buy into it, of course, climate change is something that demands change from individuals and their countries. And we are in the midst of probably a pretty big international tussle again about what countries are going to do what to lower their greenhouse gas emissions. And of course, central to the whole debate, success or failure, some say, of the post-Kyoto mechanisms, are of course, look in the mirror, everybody. Most of us are Chinese or American in this room, right? U.S. and China are going to be key in the next mechanism for dealing with climate change. Now, the China Environment Forum, we focused a lot over the years on climate, but more so looking within China at either Chinese government or NGO or World Bank or what have you, projects that are going on in China to improve energy efficiency, to promote renewable energy, questions of coal. So we've done a lot of energy. We don't usually delve into the bilateral, multilateral dialogue. And we're not exactly doing that today, but what we have, we're very lucky. Got a group of 5 climate researchers from China. And you should know that their centers funded them to come. They're an informal group. I invited them, but they just came on their own, which I think is kind of an indication of the interest within China among the research community. Now, most of these are from CAS. We do have one Renda University person here. That these are people that are not ivory tower types. They are doing very applied research. CAS is very tightly tied and probably giving advice to the government and shaping how things are going to move forward. They have come to the U.S. to talk to their counterparts and anyone else they can find or that we have helped find for them to talk about where the U.S. is going on climate in terms of our policy, in terms of research. And Robert Stowe at Harvard and I, we issued the invite. So you guys were already at Harvard. Very productive meetings, I've heard. They were at Harvard. Elizabeth Economy hosted them in New York at the Council of Foreign Relations. They're here today. Going to go to WRI, Pew, and Oakland. Yeah. National Lab. So they're busy folks. And now today's presentations are going to be focused mainly on China, on some of what's happening in China, because there's a lot of curiosity. I mean, the government issued a white paper, but coming from the Chinese side in terms of policy, renewable energy, reducing, carbon trading is another topic. These guys, they're going to give you some short presentations. Now, in the room here, we have a lot of smart folks. And so I hope that in the Q&A, that the Q&A is not just going to be you asking them, but they might have questions for some of you out there, because we do have some folks out there who are climate. So, I want to be an exchange, and afterwards strongly encourage tackling them, getting business cards, because China Environment Forum, we pride ourselves on the whole networking aspect here. So, I'm going to tell you briefly who some of these folks are. You have their bios, but Pan Jiahua, down at the end, he's the executive director of the Research Center for the Urban Development and Environment within CAS. And he's done a lot of research, of course, on environmental and development issues. He's an advisor for the UNDP in Beijing. and he also has been very involved in the IPCC working groups. So he's a big climate guy, and I think it's his fault that they're here. I think he was the catalyst for all this happening. But Wang Mo, he's the heavy lifter. He helped do a lot of the logistics to get people together and get the visas through, and so he and I were really partners in crime in that. Wang Mo is a senior researcher also at the Research Center for Urban Development and Environment, and he focuses on sustainable development, energy, and post-2012 climate regime building. That's a very hot topic these days. You must have a lot of really eager students who come to you. And the third speaker will be Mr. Cheng Ho Bo, who's an associate research fellow, also at the Research Center for Urban Development and Environment. I don't know how to pronounce their acronym, so I just say the whole thing. His research interests include CDM and international carbon markets, and also, again, the post-2012. On the side here, while they're not speaking, they might jump on in the Q&A. We've got Zheng Yan, who's also at the same center within CAS, and she focuses on sustainable development and climate research for adaptation, which I guess is a much hotter topic now in China. So you're the first adaptation person I've met from China, so it's kind of exciting. And then lastly but not least is from Renda is Xu Guangting, who's an associate professor there. And she's focusing also on energy and climate research. And those of you that don't know that the People's University was the first university that created an environmental school. Yes, Ma Zhong, who some of you have met here. All right, I'm going to shut up. And I'd like to invite Pan Jiahua to kick us off here. Thank you.
Okay.
You may begin, and do speak into the microphone because we are webcasting.
Okay. Good. Well, thank you, Jennifer. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's very much an honor to be here discussing some of the interesting issues that is relevant to climate change. Well, I think Jennifer is good at both Chinese and English. Most of you here are the same, and you have to turn it with my English. My Chinese is with some, southern accent, not Mandarin at all, and the English is with Chinese characteristics. But anyway, so we should be able to manage because this is face-to-face communication. The topic I'm going to cover today is about low carbon development. We have done some research regarding the understanding of the meaning of the term and its measurement. And also we made some simple comparisons at the global and regional level inside China, and some of the challenges we are facing. And finally, the is it not working? Oh, okay, right. So the technology, some capacity building. And it's, anyway, learning by doing process. And finally, we're going to have a look at some of the most recent developments for low carbon development inside China. The meaning of low carbon development, well, it's very, very, very weak. Everybody is talking about low carbon economy, low carbon development. What it means exactly. After a survey of the literature and also quite a few rounds of discussion inside my organization, we have a simple definition of this term. Low carbon development is actually to our understanding, a process of well, it's a process. Along this process, both carbon productivity and human development are enhanced to a desired or desirable level, with relatively high levels of both carbon productivity and human development. And when we see low carbon development, it does not mean that we the least developed economy where you have very low carbon consumption, but the level of development is very low as well. So this is not a desire. And the other is an status of economic recession. If it is in a economic recession, and then carbon consumption will be reduced substantially. Like, in 1996 and 7, there's a sharp drop of carbon emission inside China. And during that period of time, that was a consolidation period. And now, with the global financial crisis, and also the consolidation of the development process inside China, we have a very sharp drop of energy consumption increase as well recently. So at this stage, the government of China is trying to keep the economy going. So the energy efficiency seems to be a second priority now. Of course, it's high in the government agenda. When we talk about this process, there are quite a few factors that are highly relevant to low carbon development. The first one, of course, is the level of development, because at the different stages of development, you would say that carbon emission is very much different. And then you have the endowment of resources. You may agree with me as well, consumer behavior is very much crucial, because, different style of living can lead to different levels of emissions too. And finally, or probably you may say most importantly, that's technology. Well, this picture is, the historical, statistics we have gathered. That's from 1960 to 2004, nearly half a century, about the growth of income for some 16 countries or so. As you can see, oh my God, right. Here, along the process of development, emissions increase in terms of per capita as measured over time, along with increase in income. And in this part, the developing countries part, the increase in emission, like China, the rate is very fast, but still is very low. And then, at some, per capita income, $15,000 per year or so. And then, as you can see, the increase of income of emission stabilized somewhat, or even on the decline, like here in Germany and also in the UK. Well, here, as you also can see, we have two groups, the same level of income, and then somewhat low carbon here and somewhat higher carbon over there. So this gives us the indication that, one, the level of development is positively linked to, the emission of greenhouse gases as measured in terms of per capita. And the other is that, there are different paths of development. You can go a high emission pathway. You can go a slightly lower way of emission. Earlier, I mentioned that, consumption is very important a factor. Here, there are two implications here. One is that the rate of saving or rate of investment, the rate of consumption in the overall income in China, almost the savings rate, investment rate is something 40%. That is, the consumption expenditure is only small part of only half of the GDP. And then if we, with this measurement, actually the actual consumption is much less than the per capita emission, simply because part of the emission is for goods produced inside China and for consumption outside China. And then we look at the United States and the UK. Their share of consumption is over 85% of their total GDP. And then, as you can see, the amount of emission in their direct consumption is much higher. So this is one, the savings versus consumption, the consumption rate, the actual expenditure. And then the left side of the picture gives you, the automobile ownership. Well, we can, of course, we also have a positive linkage here between, automobile ownership and the income. And China is somewhere here, and then the United States, the OECD stays somewhere over here. It's also very clear that China should not pursue the way of consumption, lifestyle, the mobility in terms of here, in particular, mobility should not follow the way, like, the Americans, even the Europeans and the Japanese, because, we do not have sufficient resources for such a way of consumption. Well, then after we look at the individual factors, we have proposed a simple measurement of low carbon development, and this we have the developed a index called low carbon development index, which is called smart measurement. It has to be specific, measurable, achievable, and realistic and timely. So this is a smart measurement which we developed in our analysis. We used the data from the internationally accessible sources. And then these are the indices we have explored so far. As you can see here, for development, we simply employ the Human Development Index as compiled by the UNDP. This is the Human Development Index. It's a combination of income, life expectancy, and educational level. And then the energy mix, because we use the term carbon energy index, which is a measurement of carbon content per unit of energy. So this is, we have a carbon energy index. The third one is technology. This is a very important one because, carbon productivity, when you have different technology, and then the level of output is very much different. And the consumption, a very important factor. We have to include this measurement as well. Excuse me. And then we have, the overall measurement, that is low carbon development index. We do have the set of methodology, and in case you would like to have a copy of the methodology, we do have a paper available. And then, this is the preliminary result we got so far. This low carbon development index, we have, this is the horizontal axis is the Human Development Index, and the vertical one is low carbon development index. The lower, that means that the level of carbon is low, and the higher, and then is somewhat more higher carbon way of development. As you can see here, at the same level of human development, and then the level of carbon is very much different. I think that here, like Kuwait, the human development index is not very, it's pretty high, but because it's so energy intensive and energy consuming an economy, it's very high carbon. It's ranked the first, and the United States is very high as well, and China is somewhere is not low carbon as well. Because of the factors we have included in our analysis. And as we can see here, very high level of human development with very low level of carbon in their, development process, like, Sweden, Switzerland, and France as well. So this is, at international level, we have also have made some comparisons of individual it's confusing, so many, figures here. I'm confused as well. So this is very good, to so that you will not have many questions.
But I should note that we will. We just got the PowerPoint just now, but we will be putting these online so you can continue the confusion later. Maybe not.
Right. So here we have a low carbon development index somewhere. This along this line. Is somewhat, not that much, on the low path, but the consumption is, of carbon, is on the increase. Human development also is on the increase. That's the case for China, and for Korea, very much the same. And then for the United States, everything is high. I think that everything is on the top. And for France, the level of human development is pretty high, but their consumption energy, carbon energy index, and also carbon productivity, give us an indication that the French economy is somewhat more desired if we want to have a lower carbon in their development process. And then here is the historical or the time series analysis of the carbon consumption index. From 1990, that's at the time when the climate change became a serious issue. In 1990, the base year for the Kyoto Protocol. Measurement of emissions, and as we can see, here the carbon, consumption index. That is, the amount of consumption at per capita level, in particular from their consumption expenditure. United States is at the top, and then Britain is somewhat in between. And the others, I think, both developing and developing, the Chinese level is somewhat, very much similar to the French level, so that, even the level of development in China and South Korea are somewhat lower than the French and Swedish level. But, the consumption, because of, the energy content of, carbon is high, and then our carbon index is somewhat nearly the same as the French and the Swedish. The carbon productivity, the carbon output, per unit of carbon, the amount of out of product you can generate, and then for the British and also for France, it's on the decline. That's very much low carbon path, and then for China. It's somewhat low carbon path, but it's very high. Simply because the energy, the carbon content in energy is very high, because China is highly dependent on dirty coal. So this gives us the indication how development of low carbon evolves over time, and also the energy content of the carbon content in energy is very much for all the economies almost the same. There isn't much change. So the change of energy mix is not that easy, although all the efforts have been made. But for some economies like France, it's becoming decreasing. And if you look at China, because it's on the increase because the share by coal in the energy mix is increasing. Right. Also, we made some case examinations inside China, looking at different levels of development. This developed, this Qinghai province, a Tibetan ethnic minority dominated province in China, close to Tibet, and northeastern part of China, heavily industrial base of China, and Beijing highly developed, and Shanghai service-oriented, highly developed region in China, and also the central part of Chongqing municipality, and the coast dynamic part of Guangdong province inside China. So we made some analysis of this indexes inside China to look at how the difference we have. Well, this is very interesting. If we look at we also have the Human Development Index, and then we have the Carbon Consumption Index. As we can see, the higher level, and then the consumption of carbon or emission per capita is much higher, like Shanghai the highest, and then Beijing the second, with the lowest, that's in Qinghai, that's the least developed. So it's very much the same, like at the global comparisons. And then if we look at Human Development Index, its relations with Low Carbon Development Index, the overall level, and we can see Shanghai takes the lead. The many service-oriented, highly developed region that's in Shanghai, and Guangdong, the coast dynamic part of the economy, it's moving very fast towards a lower economy. Well, if we look at Qinghai, it's very much behind. So this the level of development does differentiate along with the demand or emission of carbon. Well, after we have a look at the individual, the indices and also the trend, we can see consumer behavior is very much a key factor that determines the trend of low carbon development. And then the second one is technology, carbon productivity, in particular, the carbon output, per unit of carbon, the amount of output you can generate. And the third one is the energy mix, because if you have a cleaner energy mix, certainly, the carbon content will be much lower. So this, give us the indication. And then, well, when we look at all this key from a macro top-down approach to the individual factors, and then we can see, what China can do, and here, give us some indication. The first one is, the structure of the economy. The government since 1980, to my, impression, was trying to develop the service economy. But so far, it has not been successful. It's still very much manufacturing dominated, in particular, heavy industrial structure for the economy. The output by the manufacturing sector is something 50%, as compared to here in the United States, nearly 80%. It's not that easy. And then, demographic and behavior changes is very much a concern as well. Because, inside the China population is on the increase. And currently we have some 1.32 billion people. And even with one-child policy, we have another nearly 200 million people added to the population by 2033, when the population peaks. That's 1.5 billion. So you have another nearly 200 million more people to feed, to use energy. So this is really a challenge, because once people are there, they have the right to survive, to have a decent living. And then the family size. This is very much a problem as well, because it's become nuclear. It's, we have people here, single family. This for one single family, they would also have the set of flat, all the facilities. So they do not share at all. So this would require more energy as well. And then urbanization. Currently the rate of urbanization, the share of urban population is something 44.7 or so. But each year is 1 percentage point. That is some 13 million people added to the urban sector. And of course, the way of living. More and more people are driving off their own cars, and if winners, a lot of probably out of imagination, but bigger apartments are really the dream of many people. the decarbonization is also a problem because, as I mentioned earlier, this is 1980, 2007, that's, even 60% in 2007, coal, dirty coal. There's no way to reduce the share of dirty coal because, this is the resource we have inside China. Coal, oil is limited, natural gas is even more limited, and nuclear is at the very beginning, and hydropower is somewhat the only one that with zero emission. And if we compare with the world, because the world, the coal is only less than a quarter, but in China is some 70%. That's year 2007, 69.7, the share of coal. Yeah, of course, in the rural area, in order to reduce commercial energy consumption, this biodigester, we done some research, very successful. I think that this is a very good way, because if you have zero emission housing in the domestic sector, and then, the amount of energy consumption will be reduced. And then, for the urban sector, I think that you don't have this many in the United States, but in China, that's everywhere, on top of the roof. This is, the solar water heater, very effective and commercially viable. They simply replace coal. So this is very much encouraging for low carbon. And the low solar city, in Baoding, it's called solar city. In the residential areas, you have, all this is powered by solar, solar panels here, solar, and also in the household as well. And in Baoding, huge building, the whole side of wall is equipped with, solar PV for power generation. And also, if you look at the power sector in year 2007, here very very much successful. The shutdown of 14 0.4 gigawatts of small-scaled, outdated technologies. The small generators. And we have all the figures here. And this year is very much the same, even more. The policy has been very, very successful, to phase out the outdated technologies with the new ones. But the number you see here is very simple because in China, each year you add 1 gigawatt of 10 gigawatts of new capacity. But you don't know, we phase out something, nearly 15 gigawatts of the less efficient, outdated, power generators. So the newly added are more efficient. Only supercritical and supercritical power generators are allowed, and also the hydropower in China and nuclear. Because if you look at the nuclear, the original plan for 2020 was 40 gigawatts, and currently we have only 10 gigawatts of nuclear, and the original plan for 2020 was 40 gigawatts. And now, because of this huge demand and also the pollution problems, and then the plan is revised to have a new number, 60 gigawatts, and only 12 years left for another 50 gigawatts. And you can see each year we must have 4 gigawatts. The amount of investment, the amount of efforts, and also in the hydropower sector. And the three gorges, already there's some 18 gigawatts in terms of power generating capacity. And the development, the hydropower under development in western part of China is something 3 times the size of these three gorges. Upper reach of the Yangtze River, upper reach of the Mekong River as well for hydropower development. So all the efforts are being made towards a lower carbon development process. I think that with all these ways combined, consumption, technology, and also zero emission energy sources, development of zero emission sources, and then we should be able to go a lower a path with lower carbon emissions. I think that I should stop here. Well, I don't know if the Q&A sessions now.
Well, actually, well, I think we'll wait till we do all three. But I want. Okay. Well, first, before I go, blah blah blah. Can we applaud him?
Thank you.
And I just really briefly, Panjahua, because I'd heard that actually that the EU is starting to work with China on possibly having there's some talk of some kind of special low carbon zones being developed. Are you involved in that, or is that? I'm guessing your research is meant to inform some of this.
Well, this is part of the EU-China project on low carbon development, or the establishment of a low carbon zone, and currently with under the auspices of the NDRC, the National Climate Change Department under the NDRC. With the support from the UK government, we've been working on a project called Low Carbon Development in China. And in this project, we have three components. One is about the methodology for the measurement of a low carbon development process or a low carbon economy, and the second one is to have some experimental case examination. Currently, we have selected two municipalities. One is in Jilin, a very heavy industrial base in northeastern part of China, in Jilin province. It's called Jilin municipality, and the other is Zhuhai, near Shenzhen, or close to Hong Kong and Macau, where is more dynamic in the development process, and also relatively low carbon in the industrial structure. And the third component is to look at the technological options and the policy initiatives that we have to introduce to speed up the process of lower carbon development. So this project is in progress, and we hope that through our study we are trying to propose something like the low carbon zone, similar to the reform at the initial stage of economic reform, like the special economic zone in Shenzhen or something. Some provincial policies will be introduced, and some thresholds will be introduced, so that investment, trade, and also consumption will meet certain thresholds. For instance, zero emission housing will be a key component in these zones. So this is still in progress, and we hope that by the middle of next year we will have some preliminary results. And this is the first part of our analysis. In case you would be interested, we would be happy to keep you informed of the process.
Oh, I'm not keeping you out of my sights. I find this really an intriguing kind of project. It's kind of new, but it's also a new trend that, working with provinces and cities. All right, we're going to move on. Wang Mo, are you going to stay here, or do you want to switch seats? Yeah, Huang Wei, okay, Huang Wei. Okay, you switch with Pan Jiahua. You're going to trade seats a minute so he can be closer. And just know we will get these PowerPoints
you
online.
There. Okay. So I don't have to move, right?
And Wang Mo, now you're going to be talking about renewable energy, and maybe just, but I need to, Pan Jiahua, we need to make sure he has a microphone, so maybe scooch a little more.
Right,
please.
so I have to move.
You have to really move.
Good.
Well, it's a little exercise. But Wang Mo, you're talking about renewable energy, but and I haven't seen your PowerPoint, but is this also your research? Is it also linked to some national project or because I like a lot of your research at CAS is applied, like your research for the low carbon.
It should be some substantial part of some other research. This is not because this is very simple. I'm here just for some information sharing.
Okay.
And this should be some part of some other project.
Okay.
So it is not a project its own because this is very simple.
Okay, sounds good. All right.
So I'm sure that you won't be confused by my presentation yet. So first of all, I'd like to introduce the topic, the main concerns of this presentation. The first one, I want to just update you the renewable energy implementation or the current situation in China. And the second step, I just want to move to the renewable energy planning in China. That means we can see in the future or in the near future, how about Chinese plannings or targets for renewable energy. And the next step, we will go to talk about something about the incentives for development of renewable energy. Since I think maybe part of thanks. Yeah.
We want to renew your energy that way too.
Yeah. So that maybe some of you have read about the former plannings already, but you are really care about how Chinese people can fulfill that kind of target. I just want to introduce some incentives or some related policies could be ensured that could be fulfilled. Since renewable energy also is a very hot topic in China as the low carbon development. And we have some definitions for. First of all, we have some definitions for the renewable energy, including hydro, wind, solar, and biomass, and geothermal and tide, etc. And Chinese government always values the renewable energies priority technologies to be encouraged in Chinese government. So this kind of technology innovation and also renewable energy projects are also being encouraged by Chinese government. And so that's why we can see quite a lot of renewable energy projects in CDM or carbon market. So I just want to share you some data for right now of Chinese. So first of all, we can see that the hydro. Hydro, we take most of the shares of the renewable energy. We can see that 145 gigawatts with electricity generation and very huge amounts of electricity will be generated by the hydro project. And hydro its own accounts for 20% of total installed capacity for electricity generation. So that means it's really very, very important in China's energy mix. And I just want to give you some data of 850 gigawatts of the world total for hydro capacity. So that means China its own take a very good share about the whole hydro project of the world. And the second one, we just want to share in some information about the wind. We can see that very clearly, 6 gigawatts. And this data is very, very interesting because we have some plannings for renewable energy issued by 2007. That means there has some middle term planning for wind power. But at that planning, at the end of 2010, the wind installed capacity would be reach 5 gigawatts. But at the end of 2007, we already reached 6 gigawatts. So that's very funny. And we can see wind power increase very, very fast in China. And next one, we just want to talk about something about the solar energy. Solar energy, we are for the installation capacity is very limited. So here I just want to introduce you some things about solar water heater or something just now Professor have shown you. So this area. Also, China ranks first place of the world. Yeah, it has the biggest consumer and has the very big areas of this kind of installation. We can see that number exceeded 100 million square meters has been installed in China, and also biomass energies and 3 gigawatts. And I don't want to talk about nuclear because it is not really a renewable, and we can see here some data that is shows the energy mix of China, and we can see the left one graph is energy mix of 1980. Just now I think Professor has this kind of graph, yeah, and very lucky. The number is matched with very good. Yeah, I think if you get numbers from different sources, they are always different. But I just now have checked it. Yeah, it's matched very well. So I mean, from 1980 to 2007, the energy renewable energy, the share of renewable energy has been increased in China, and that is the total amount of renewable energy could be converted into around 200 million tons of standard coal. That means we in China we always will convert all the energies into standard coal, and to see that it's going to account for 8.5% of all the energy consumption. Yeah, very big share. So. Now we come to the second step. Yeah, that means the energy planning of China. There should be very important to introduce you on renewable energy planning. It's about that in Chinese that is middle and long-term planning for renewable energies. This middle and long-term is quite different with you. What we have quite often heard about the middle and long-term under UNFCCC, because middle just means 2010, and long-term here we just talk about 2020. So this planning has been issued in 2007, very near. So that state that renewable plan take to 15% share in energy mix of 2020. So 15%. So how does that mean 50% in Chinese energy mix? So we can see that hazard should be reached to 300 gigawatts. And the following I have give you some data for 2010 and 2007, so you can see the differences. And also wind power, about 30 gigawatts. And how about the 2007 and 5 times compared to current? So that means quite a lot of effort we should put in this field. And also biogas energy and solar energy. I have a paragraph there, could make sense more simpler. So I'm not sure I have no paragraph. So you can see here it's great changes from hydro. That means within 13 years, yeah, that might be a double of right now the capacity. And for winds, yeah, we're very glad to see that this year has been last year has been exceeded the planning. But if we want to achieve 30 gigawatts, that should be a long way to go. And for biomass, that's a long way to go. And for solar, this is the most difficult one. I think the cost for solar is the highest among renewables. Yeah. So. Here, I just want to talk about how fast about the renewable energy development in China. The first thing I want to introduce you is the renewable energy new issued in 2005. That in that document we can find a number is until the 2010 the share of the renewable should account no less than 5%. But 2 years later, for the middle and long-term planning for renewable energy, that states renewable energy are planned to take 10% share of the energy mix and 15 till the 2010. So that means within 2 years, China has modified its planning for on renewable energy. And also to balance the development of various renewable energy technologies. Also, we do not want when we talk about renewable energy, most people will just think about the hydro. So we should keep some balance of the renewable energy technologies. So we can see some data for that requirements for other kind of renewable energy technologies here. We can see that 1% and 3%. And some incentives to ensure we could fulfill our target. That is, I have divided into two parts. The first part is domestically. We have listed 4 very important items. The first one is tariff concession. So that means I just can give you some examples on this. That means for wind turbine is very, very popular in China, and also it is a very key technologies which China really needs for recent days. So for this kind of things, we have greatly reduced the tariff for import of that kind of key elements, and all the imports will be reimbursed. And the second policy is value-added tax preference. So for this, it's very common. Value-added tax rate is about 17%, but just seeing like biogas projects or something like small hydro projects, you will enjoy more favorable value-added taxes. And for soft known, this is another incentives for especially middle or small size renewable projects. You can get fundings and get subsidies from government, and also supported price policies. Especially we can see in the renewable energy like biomass generator plant. So each of the units could be the electricity unit will be sell 25 cents more than the convenient way. So another incentive, very important incentive, is the stadium and the carbon market. I think Chinese projects or Chinese enterprises have get quite a lot of profit, or also Chinese energy mix get quite a lot of benefit from this. And we can see some data here. This is for wind power station, and we can see that the first line is 207. This is for year, and the second row is for capacity installation capacity. And we can see that very great increase for every year for China. I think this is greatly due to the incentive from CDM or carbon market, so that could ensure more and more attentions from every side to put into renewable energy field. And also we can see hydro, the same situation. In 2006, that's only the total volume of the project is 2139, and we can see a very, very huge increase from this field. So that's all. So I think, yeah.
It's like he was scared of my 20-minute time limit, so it's like I'm mean that way.
So I think, personally view, yeah, I think the CDM is very, very important for China or always for the developing world. And we can see that these data at the very beginning of 2006, the data is not very high. But every year it seems not double, but half of the volume will be increased during this process. That means this kind of mechanism can really contribute to the health, to the development of renewable energy in developing countries. So that's all. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I guess we'll play musical chairs again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think one thing to note about, I think that one more with that with the wind power. I mean, China. Another driving factor is that. I mean, I don't know. Does Joanna Lewis ever make it here yet? She's not. There's Joanna that she knows is better. I'm embarrassed to even say this in front of with her here, but that wind power is becoming a big export. Wind turbines. That China is positioning itself to also be exporting some of the renewable technologies, which is another potential driver to make them cleaner and greener. Although we do still have the stat of 69%. Cool. Some other comment?
I think for you, I think in this field we are not a pure exporter, because China do some export on this field, but we should be with lower technology intensified, and we cannot also produce more than 5 megawatts generators right now. So yeah. For smaller capacity turbines, we can produce and we can export, but higher technology intensified technologies we do not have right now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good note. All right, that was our segue, and last thing in up was with CDM, and now we have Chumbo.
Okay.
Thank you, and do make sure you speak in the mic. Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I will talk about the emissions trading in China, including the experience and the future. Emissions trading in China is still less developed. So I just focused on the CDM and a few emission tradings. First of all, I will. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. You have a nice soft voice, which is nice. We need to hear you.
Before I came here, I thought you may be not very familiar with China's policies and regulations for CDM. So I prepared this part. But I think someone may know it very well. So I will go through this part very fast. And the second part, the progress of the CDM implementation in China. And the third part is China's carbon trading, actually emission trading in the future. China's policy and regulation for CDM, including the CDM management system, DNA's responsibility on CDM, and some measures for on CDM, and also some requirement for letter of approval on CDM projects, and some priority area, and so on. So CDM management system includes 3 levels. The first level is the leadership level. It's the National Climate Change Committee. This committee composed of the 17 ministries, and Premier Wen Jiabao is the director of this committee. And this committee responsible for decision making on significant CDM policies, and the management level, every country, every parties of the Kyoto Protocol should have the DNA for CDM management. And in China, NDRC NDRC is the Chinese DNA. They responsible for management of the CDM project, and decision-making level. That is the National CDM Board. This composed of the related 7 related ministries responsible for the review, inquiring, and approval of CDM project application. And DNA's responsibility for CDM, including to accept the CDM project application for a letter of the approval, to approve CDM project activities jointly with the most is the Ministry of the Science and the Technology, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on the basis of the conclusion made by the CDM Board, and to issue written LOA on behalf of the Chinese government to supervise the implementation of the CDM project activities, and to take the international cooperation for promotion of the CDM projects, to organize the related studies in CDM field, and so on. And China had a regulation for CDM. We call the measures for cooperation, for operation and management of the CDM. This regulation is very specific. It's especially specific on the CDM project activities. In 2004, 2004, the intermeasures was issued. That's to set up the legal guidance for application, implementation, and the management of the CDM project in China. And the former one was effective in October 2005, after the many times the modification and according to the practice in CDM market. And the requirements for the approval include the several items. So first of all, the participant eligibility. That is the project owner of the CDM. The CDM project owner should be the Chinese enterprises, Chinese company, or if the company is a joint venture enterprises, the Chinese partner should hold at least 51% of the share. Or if not of the shareholders, the biggest shareholder should be the Chinese company. And second, they will also have some requirements for the PDD. Several experts will review the PDD. All the PDDs should meet the requirements of the CDM Executive Board. We call it the EB. And also, we should consider the price of the CERs. At least the price at least not less than the lowest price of the China market. It is always adjusted. At this moment, some the projects for one CER, we say the floor price is €8 or the $10. And the funding, the funding from this project should be the additional to ODA, and we prefer the technology transfer. If the project with the advanced technology transfer, it will be go through. It will easily get the letter of the approval. And also, the environmental impacts should get the approval of the Ministry of Environmental Protection and its branches in in some local authority. And project feasibility. The project should have approval of engineering feasibility studies. Of course, the CDM projects in China should contribute to local sustainable development, including increasing the local income and the employment, and it helpful for the local environment and the alleviation of the poverty and so on. So China has some priority areas for CDM project development. We say many about include the three priority. The first is the energy efficiency improvement. The second is the development and the utilization of the new and the renewable energy. And the third one is the mix recovery and utilization. If the project has been registered and issued by EB, the project owner should deliver some revenue to the CDM fund. You know, China has set up the CDM fund. But the percentage for the delivery is different by the project type. For the HFC and the PFC decomposition projects, it should deliver the 65% to the CDM fund, and for N2O should be for 30% to deliver to the CDM fund. But for the projects in the priority areas, just 2%. Here is the procedure for the project for the application and the approval. You know, the project owner should develop the project, read the PDD, and so the deliver the PDD and some other documents to the NDRC, and invite several experts to review the PDD and give their opinions to the National CDM Board. CDM Board have the meeting to decide whether issue the LOA to this project. If not meet the requirement of the if not meet the requirement of the board, they should be rejected. And if have some problem, they will be revised. Ask the project owner revise the PDD and some things, and go through this project again. So far, the CDM works very well in China. You know, from this figure, I just downloaded from the website. Until yesterday, 294 projects of China had been registered by EB, which account for 24% of total projects in the world. Meanwhile, the 1,598 projects had got the letter from the Chinese DNA. You know, so many projects are rushing for the registration. We can expect the Chinese projects will be registered more and more. And also, according to the registered projects, the average annual CRs from the Chinese project will be 122 million. Yeah, 122 million. That means for every year there will be reductions of the GHG in China will take place. So many, yeah, 122 million CO2 equivalent. And because of the implementation of the CDM project, both the CR buyers and sellers benefit from these projects. For electric parties, the European countries and Japan, from this project, they have these countries to fulfill the commitments under the Kyoto Protocol in a cost-effective way. Chinese CDM projects will create at least 500 million tons of CO2 equivalent by 2012. That's at least. And also it have to depend the cooperation of the energy and climate change between China and electric parties. Through the CDM, European countries or Japan have very cooperation with Chinese companies, and also it helpful these countries export of the technology and the equipment to China. Also, China also got a lot of the benefit from the CDM implementation. CDM is helpful to promote the development of the renewable energy and the improvement of the energy efficiency in China. Just as the Wang Mao talked about, above the 70% of the Chinese CDM projects are renewable energy. Say the hydropower projects, and the wind power, and so on. And also have the Chinese government realize that the market mechanism is the efficient way to address climate change. We can expect that China will take the bigger role of this kind of the market mechanism. And it also helpful to enhance the public awareness for climate change. The currently thousands of the Chinese companies are seeking for the business opportunity in mitigation of climate change. A lot of the, in several years ago, many Chinese companies don't know what is the climate change, why we do something for addressing climate change. But after some CDM project demonstrated, so a lot of companies say that's good for their company. So many companies entered this market. And for the future, where the carbon trading, how the carbon trading will take place, China is changing so fast. I think it's very difficult to describe the future of China, especially the emission tradings. But I can talk about this one from two sides. First one is I think China will get the programmatic CDM implemented in the near future. And second, China needs the construction of the market infrastructure. China has completed CDM research complete. This project is funded by Danish government. Our research center conducted this the research project. CDM. Many experts and officials criticize the CDM. CDM is not perfect. It has not the shortcoming. For example, the high cost and the procedure for registration is time-consuming, and the benefit of the sustainable development is very low, and the balanced distribution among the different countries and the regions. The CDM project from African countries is less than 20. Yeah, very few projects came from the African countries. So someone suggests to reform the CDM regulations. So the programmatic CDM, we call it PCDM regulations, was programmatic. How do you say? Propagated by EB in June 2007. And so we did this research until how to implement such regulations in China. So, according to the research result, China has a significant potential to implement PCDM, especially in the rural area. Regular CDM, we developed the project developed by project by project. We just develop one project and then another project. According to the PCDM regulations, you can develop a program. First, you can develop the program, and then you just register, just get the program registered. And after the registration, some small activities of the GHG reductions can be added in this program. So the procedure was shortened very much, and the cost for the registration may be reduced. So these regulations is very helpful for the small projects. So as our research results, our research suggested PCDM projects, especially for the rural area, say the biogas digesters and mini hydro projects and so on. So also this kind of project had very big benefits of the sustainable development. They can create job opportunity, and for the poverty reduction, and also they help for the local farmers' health and so on. But although this kind of PCDM project is very good, but also some technical and market issues need to be further identified and solved. So many small participants into the program. How to coordinate so many participants, and how to monitor the reductions. So of course it's a little bit difficult to implement in the rural area. So we deliver we take the one case study. we take the we have done 3 case studies. We will put one case into the process of the registration to say what the obstacles in the process of the registration, and to how to overcome these obstacles. Also, China has the measures for regular CDM, but PCDM has a lot of the difference. So if Chinese government gets PCDM implemented, the measures for CDM should be revised. So after this kind of work has been done, I think the implementation of the PCDM were in the process. And also, China lack of the market infrastructure. So if we take the market, get the emission market worked, it should be construction of the market infrastructure. China is still in the process of the transition from managed economy to the market economy. Regarding the Chinese government, there's they lack the experience on regulating the emission trading market. Of course, not only emission trading market and the other market, and also China is a lack of the legal systems for allocation of the allowances, reporting, verifying, regulation, and monitoring, and so on. Of course, China still lack of the third-party market, like DOE. So this kind of market is under development, is less development. So construction of the market infrastructure is very urgent. In this year, 3 emissions markets have been set up, including the Tianjin Climate Exchange, and the Beijing Environmental Exchange, and the Shanghai Environmental Energy Exchange. The 3 markets has been set up. We guess a domestic trial market for emission trading will be starting, and the trading products, I guess, maybe just include the SO2, COD, and some certificate of the energy saving. That's just a trial market. Through these projects, the emission trading market, when the emission trading market is developed, I think China will get the emission trading market expanded and take the more efficient and so on. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think, as I said at the beginning, we don't have these ivory tower researchers here. They're doing really applied work that are very significant for China jumping even more on the climate change bandwagon. I've got 2 of my interns, should be grabbing mics, Min and Alyssa, someone out there. And they will please speak into the mic, and when you ask your question, please say your name and affiliation so they know where you're coming from. Okay. Helen, always quick to drop on there. Alyssa, grab Helen right there.
People started. I'm sure there are a million questions.
Yes. Okay. So we only have 40 minutes to talk to them.
Well,
so
I have three very quick ones.
All
Very
right,
quick.
Helen.
First of all, on hydro, the Huanghe dries up for part of the year at the lower reach, so hydro projects are really not implementable on the Yellow River there in the north. The Yangtze has its three gorges, and it's the Mekong and the Salween that flow from Tibet and so forth, Qinghai, down through the southwest, that are ripe for China hydro projects, but that would really impede water flowing to Myanmar and Southeast Asia. So I'm not sure that hydro is a big, expandable, renewable project. On wind, I think that as in the United States, the wind region is in the Great Plains mostly, and I've heard a lot of objections to that from the point of view of transmission lines coming to the east where it's really needed, and that the transmission lines, number one, are expensive, and number two, are objected to by the pathways through which they might come. So I would think that that's true also, because I presume it's the Inner Mongolia and northern deserts that are the primary wind project locations. That's number two. Number three, since both the United States and China and other countries are very heavily dependent on coal, as you pointed out, isn't carbon capture and sequestration at the coal use generating plants for electricity among the top priorities for development?
Okay, maybe some quick responses. We've got dams, wind power transmission, and carbon capture.
All right.
Quick, yeah.
It's very quick for.
We can spend all day on each of these, probably.
Right. Well, hydro. I think that there are a lot of debates about. This is one of the choices we have to make, and also, China and Laos, we are developing some hydros, in the border, and also in the inside the Chinese border, we have developed a huge hydro, and the power is to be transmitted to Thailand for consumption. So, if we can work together, it's not, we can have a win-win solution instead of some, conflict between the neighboring countries. And the wind power transmission, I don't think that is a problem, because if you look the three gorges power generated in central part of China all the way to Canton to Shanghai by direct currency, it's very, very efficient. So there's 1,500 kilometers distance. So that power transmission in China, the technology is there. The loss is kept very much minimal. And the pathway, of course, you have to be very careful to have the adverse impact on nature and the environment. For carbon capture and storage, this is probably a technology in the future. It's not matured yet, simply because it's not only financially too expensive, but also it's energy consuming as well. You have to spend at least 20 to 50% of your additional energy to run through the process to separate, capture, transport, and inject into the ground area. So it's very, very expensive. According to the IPCC, this technology might be commercially viable by 2030 or after 2030. So we have to work very hard to speed the development and the deployment of this technology. So probably everybody has to contribute, but I'm not that technical, so and I have no idea when this technology would be commercially implemented in the future.
Okay, some other comments, questions. Raise your hand high so I can see you. So came right up here.
Mic, I'm okay.
Oh no, we do need mic because it's webcast. So sorry. And who else is going to ask after that so I can get the next mic to the person?
Hello, my name's Sakib Rahim. I'm a reporter with Climate Wire. I write a little bit about China and about technology development around the world. I'm curious about, I guess, a recent story in Reuters pointed out that China's made a request that that developed countries contribute as much as 1% of GDP to developing technology in lesser developed countries. Does that seem like a realistic estimate to you? And if not, what do you think would be a realistic estimate?
Well, the number suggested in the Chinese white paper on climate change is very much indicative. There is some ground for this estimate because the investment required for renewable energy development, for efficient energy deployment, technology deployment would require much more resources than the 1% of GDP. We made some calculation as well for the sort of technological development and deployment, and also for the possible market development. This I think that this to me is a somewhat more a political number instead of a technical number, because the translation of this political number into a technical number, you would require some additional analysis to see how this amount of resources could be generated, because 1% GDP it has to be from taxpayers, from the private sector, and from some other resources, and where the amount of resources is from, and how it is to be spent, and how it is to be distributed. There are many technical issues. I think that we have to make some further analysis regarding this number, and we have developed a somewhat more complicated framework, that's a carbon budget proposal, and we may have some further analysis, but I don't think I have time to elaborate our proposal of carbon budget here. So this is, we need to translate this political number into a more technical number. This will need some more analysis. That's what I can see here.
Okay, I got Steve Wolfson here. Okay.
Steve Wolfson from U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. I think it was Dr. Chen mentioned the need for further development of the legal infrastructure for CDM,
Yes.
and in particular the need for reporting and verification.
Yeah.
I wonder, should we expect to see legislation to address that, either in amendments to the air pollution control law or in other legislation in the near future?
Yes. So China has set up the three markets, but in this stage, we will trade just for the CO2. That's the domestic trial market. In the process of the construction of the market infrastructure, in the long term, I think, we lack the legislation system and the regulation experience. So I guess in China in the reform process we do not of the things. First, we should do the trial. Shenzhen is a perfect example for this kind of the things. We should try, and then we say how to get these things implemented. So now we have the three market. We'll try in the CO2, SO2, not CO2, SO2, and DU, and the COD, and some certificate of the energy saving. If the market developed in now, of course, according the process of this market operation, if the operate very well, from my opinion, I think we will consider to get the carbon market worked.
Dr. Chen, if I can ask, with these three pilot projects, is there some international partners that are working with you on this? Or, I think that his question about the legal structure is important, and it could be really helpful. Maybe EPA should kind of be working with and kind of seeing what the needs are at these cities. Are there international partners for these projects, or is it just?
I know some, yes. CCX.
I'm sorry, who?
Chicago Climate Exchange.
Chicago Climate Exchange
is actively involved. In particular, it's a partner of the Tianjin Environmental Exchange. And also in Shanghai, they have some international, partners as well with the EU emissions trading scheme. And in Beijing, they have even more. Some, of course, at the informal level, because China is not, as a developing country, committed to any quantitative reductions. But because CERs, certified emission reductions, are traded in the EU ETS, EU emission trading scheme. So at domestic, these are traded at or supposed to be traded at the domestic market as well. So this is probably some linkages of this very prototype carbon exchange might be established to the international carbon market as well. So it's at this stage, I think that is somewhat more experimental, and because the legal basis is not there yet inside China, and the technical infrastructure is still under construction. So it will take some time. So probably for the second commitment period, some more progress will be made, and in the third commitment period, when China will be ready to participate in the operation of global market, and then the full operation will be possible. So I think that it may take some time for it to be fully operational.
Okay, I've got this woman here, two on the side, the gentleman, Joanna, and this guy here. Okay.
Hi, I'm Danielle Monison from the U.S. Department of State, and if I may, I'd like to ask two questions. My first is regarding the new white paper that was released, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. It talked about goals for 2010, and I'm just wondering if, due to the economic downturn that has affected even China, if you anticipate that those goals may be changed or not met entirely. And then my other question is regarding the new arrangement between the NDRC and the NEA. How's that going, and do you anticipate in the long term that eventually China will create a Ministry of Energy? Okay.
Yeah, and if you could pass that mic over to Min, and Min to the gentleman down there. Okay, you can answer the questions again?
Yeah, probably right, for the white paper, the goals are very much consistent with the 11th five-year plan of social and economic development, which was approved by the Congress in People's Congress in year 2006. So far, I think that it's not on track, and the slowdown of the economy may have some negative impact, because this is an intensity target, so it may have some negative impact. But on the other hand, we must look at the positive numbers as well. For one thing, the rate of growth of the economy for the past 3 years up to now has been nearly 2 digits. So in that case, I think that the number of GDP has increased some of the more substantially, of course, with more energy and emissions as well. So in that case, I think that they are on track up to now. And for the next year and year 2010. The government is aware of the pressure. It's not, I think that the pressure is more on the social side instead of the energy, intensity side, because the slowdown of the growth of the economy will have huge impact on employment, and thus, social instability will be a major concern for the central government. And because of this reason, and the huge investment program, as you can see from the media, has been initiated, and with tens of hundreds of billion RMB are to be invested in the next 1 or 2 years. And this year alone, by in 2 months, in that 1.5 months left, some 120 billion RMB has to be spent. So with all this, investment from the government and also from the private sector, the economy will keep a rate of growth at some 8% or so. So if that is the case, with this huge amount of investment, the rate of growth will be there, and then probably the target will be still achievable. But we also look at the other factor, that is consolidation and phasing out of the outdated technologies. And now simply because I just look at the recent news that in China there is a surplus of electricity, and this is very good or bad. And the good side is that the outdated, less efficient jet power generators will be out of production, and of course the bad side is that the growth of the economy or the production will be reduced. So the balance of it, to me, I think there will be some good for energy intensity purposes, and in that case, emission reduction will be possibly achieved. So this is for the white paper issue. The second one, NDRC and NEA, National Energy Administration. Currently, the NEA, National Energy Administration, is under NDRC, so it's a secondary deputy ministerial level government agency. In 1985 or so, China had a ministry of called energy. It was a combination of the Ministry of Power, Ministry of Oil, Ministry of Coal, all combined. And then it was dismantled again and it became separate. And now, there's a suggestion to have all, these energy-related sectors combined to create a new ministry. And this, at the very, there was a suggestion that we simply create a new ministry instead of an administration. But this would require some preparation as well. So this, I think that the creation of National Energy Administration is somewhat a transitional energy ministry. To my understanding, will be created, but not for the near future, for the next 2 or 3 years, but for the next round of the People's Congress. I think that this ministry will be created, and it has assumed its power for overall planning and management of energy issues in China, and it's become more and more, of course, powerful, and probably most powerful, administration within the NDRC. But still, it's part of NDRC. It's under it is somewhat more independent, but it is still under the overall umbrella of NDRC.
Okay, so maybe a super ministry later on. Yeah.
Can I make
yeah, sure.
And also, I think it's right now under the maybe umbrella of NDRC. Also shows that maybe Chinese government value the environment problem and the climate problem, also a very important development problem. So NDRC in China in charge of development matters, and also maybe they have this kind of concerns. So that right now still under that umbrella. Yeah. So.
Okay, there's gentleman back in the, if you could stand up so we can see you there. Hi.
Leo Orleans, I'm U.S. China Policy Foundation. I was just wondering if someone might comment on the positive and negative aspects on the issues discussed here by the fact that, at least from perspective of an octogenarian, 90% of the people here are under 30. Is that good or bad for the future of the issues that are discussed here?
The demographic spread. What do you think? Well, a lot of innovation from the youngins?
90% of the people here are under 30.
No.
No? So, I couldn't quite catch the question. Can you repeat it?
Well, I'm thinking of the issues that are discussed here and the future of this climate, controlling the climate change and so forth. I can see very good reasons why people under 30, it's good for the future, but for now, maybe it would be more valuable to have some people in their 50s and 60s. Just forget it. I just
okay.
I'm looking around. I just couldn't help mentioning it.
Maybe pass it down to Joanna. Let's ponder the demographic question.
Hi, I'm Joanna Lewis with Georgetown University. I wanted to ask a bit about the future of the CDM in the context of the post-2012 climate change negotiations, either for Dr. Chen or for Dr. Pan, I guess. You mentioned, I think there's no doubt the CDM has been very successful in promoting, in particular, renewable energy development in China. But as you mentioned, there's been some criticisms, and one that you didn't mention is the fact that the question of additionality and whether it's incentivizing projects that wouldn't have happened otherwise. And the other is the fact that although the scale of emissions reductions that have been achieved through the CDM has been impressive, it's still not sufficient to the scale of emissions reductions we're going to need to see if we're going to address climate change seriously. And to that end, there's been some proposals put out there for reforming the CDM in such a way that carbon finance might be used to incentivize larger scales of carbon reductions. For example, setting a sectoral, a no-lose target by which all emissions reductions would be credited below a certain baseline. Another would be a policy commitment whereby policy actions were credited, for example, renewables targets, efficiency targets, et cetera. And I was just wondering your thoughts on whether you think these would be viable mechanisms for incentivizing larger scale reductions with carbon finance in China.
Yes, a lot of the proposal for reform of the CDM regulations, the policy-based CDM and sector CDM and so on. A lot of the proposal. Also, someone bring about the technology CDM and so on, but. I think it's quite complicated to get this kind of the CDM implemented. How to decide the baseline for example for the policy CDM, for the sector CDM, and in China, China is very big, so many different kind. The industries very diversity, so China had a big company and with some high technology, but not a lot of the small companies with the very low technology, and it's very difficult to decide the baseline, and of course how to monitor. I think so far the sector CDM and the policy-based CDM are very disputable. I'm not very sure for this kind of the CDM get implemented.
Yeah, probably I may have a few views to offer here. For one thing, CDM is it's an artificial market. It's has this duality. One is political, one is political, and the other is market. It's created by a political process and it's operated in the market. So both are, politics and the market are important in its operation. And currently, for this, we have another problem like, the additionality, like, leakage, and also, politically, I think that this, originates from the United States. CDM is called a China development mechanism because a large share of CERs are generated from China, and this is true simply because only China at such a development stage would require energy increases. In Africa, if you have CDM projects, they do not have the demand for energy. Because you may remember in the 1920s when the Three Gorges project was proposed, finance was not a problem, technology was not a problem. The only problem was the lack of a market for electricity. The market at certain development stage, if you without the development need, you would not require any energy consumption. So that is why in Africa you do not have so many CDM projects, simply because of the development stage. So this is this is one view I would like to offer. The second is that for the future of CDM, I think that the EU, from my understanding and the communication with EU counterparts, they for the second commitment period, they would like to keep these mechanisms alive, and they would like to continue to include CDM in their second commitment period. So, and also, this is well received in the developing world because we have this, political desire. Probably, CDM will continue in its existence. This is the second, for the future. And then the third one, to scale up of the CDM, because the project basis it's very time consuming. Its transaction cost is too high, and also the scale is too small, and we need to enlarge it to scale it up. Policy based, sector based, and also technology based CDM projects are under discussion. If this is the case, I think that still we have the baseline and the sort of cap problem, and we do understand that some people would like to have a cap first, and then you have this the CDM market. And for one thing, I think that the good side of a cap is that once you have a cap, and then the amount of emission is somewhat fixed, and you would not exceed that amount. That's for environmental certainty. I think that's good side of it. But the better side of it is that politically it may not be acceptable by the developing world simply because they do not know the amount of emissions in the future. If you look at the IPCC emission scenarios, and then all the projections for the developing world are wrong. Only their projections for the OECD member states are, correct. Simply because for the mature economy everything is certain, and for the developing economies everything is so uncertain. That is why the developing economies are very much hesitant to take a cap, including China. And also I think that for the second commitment period at Copenhagen next year, China I don't think is ready to take any quantitative target. So this is for cap. We do have a problem, but even with such a cap, without such a cap, CDM is very much useful. Simply because with such, this is project based. You look, all the projects inside China, they have very concrete emission reductions. They bring the emission reductions, and then they are real. Compared with the baseline like renewable energy, if you do not have this renewable energy, and then you must develop more dirty coal powered electricity. So this is what we have to face, because So to me, I think that the project-based CDM will be very positive, both in terms of emission, environmental protection, and for the sustainable development in the recipient country, and also for the creation and operation of a global carbon market. So to me, I'm very much positive towards this mechanism, CDM. Thank you.
Okay, might be the last question here. It depends how long and whatever it is. Okay.
I just have I'm Hyuk Kwon. I'm from SAIS. I just have two small questions. One is a macro one, and one is a micro one. The first one is about your prospect on the global climate change dialogue. I mean, whether you're optimistic or pessimistic. And for example, if the global dialogue fails to reach an agreement for the framework for the post-Kyoto, do you think that will affect very much to the China's track on your effort to the energy efficiency policies? And the second one is about your auto industries, that you have a strong tendency that your automobile sectors will grow in the future as well. But regarding the global financial crisis and the big auto companies' downward tendency, then there will be less tendency for the technology transfer to China's companies. Then how much, what kind of a policy do you think would be desirable for China, for the auto sectors, in terms of fuel efficiency and emission policy? Thank you.
Okay, we'll have to be succinct. I think that, well, the first one is about the link between global climate agreement and whether China's going to keep on your path towards energy efficiency. Tight link? What do you think?
Okay, probably I may talk about this. Well, I think that China is a very active player in the climate negotiation front, and China is very cooperative as well. And China is hesitant to make any quantitative target. That does not mean that China will not take any actions and China will not be part of the process. Because this is a change of mind. Earlier, year 2003, I recommended to the Chinese government, 3 types of commitments. One is somewhat obligatory commitment. That is, for basic necessities, we have to guarantee, we have to provide, basic necessity emissions for all the people, and we have to discourage any luxurious and wasteful emissions, because this is obligatory. This should be right. And the second one is voluntary. As we are doing all the efforts for energy efficiency, for development of renewable energy, for consumption behavior, for population control, for afforestation. So many activities are very positive on emission reductions. Why don't we make our voluntary commitment? And the third one is conditional. We want to do more, but we are not in a position to do more. If there is additional resources, and then we can do more. But the government rejected my suggestion simply because commitment is considered somewhat political, because they don't like the word commitment. And the second reason for their rejection of my suggestion is that in China we do not have the necessary infrastructure for monitoring, for for verification, for this sort of technical infrastructure. So that's reject my idea. And now I think that they can do something like voluntary and conditional, simply because we in Bali action plan we have measurable, reportable, and verifiable actions by the developing countries, and China has agreed to that action plan, and then China is ready to take actions that are measurable, reportable, and verifiable. So in this case, I think that China should be able to make somewhat voluntary commitments. And if that is the case, and then if we make some simple calculation, and then the efforts and achievements by China are not comparable to any part of the world, it's comparable to the efforts and achievements China has made so far, like energy efficiency, development of renewable energy, population control, reforestation, afforestation, everything added together. No any other country has made comparable efforts and success. So in this regard, I think that in Copenhagen, I have no doubt there will be something. The only thing is that whether we would have the desired agreement, but I'm sure. I think that at Copenhagen, the U.S. will not be ready because because of the change of administration, and then the U.S. will not be ready to have any concrete commitment at Copenhagen. And China, I think, has made it very clear for this second commitment period, following the common but differentiated principles, and China would not be ready to make any concrete commitment for emission reductions, but very active involvement and contribution will be expected from China. So I think that China will be very active and will be very cooperative, and will be part of the forces to ensure an agreement, agreement at Copenhagen. And then regarding the automobile sector, I think that the financial crisis has it's hitting the world economy, and the Chinese economy is affected as well. There is no doubt about it, and we can see it is very evident. But on the other hand, we have to look at a few factors. One is that China is not immune, but is more resistant to such financial crisis because the financial market is under more control, less that liberalized. So because of this sort of control, sometimes common control has good impact, good side of it. So in this case, we do see it's positive side.
We want you to stay afloat in China. Don't want you to crash.
Yeah, and then the second thing is that China has a huge demand for the cars, automobile products. So in that case, demand is still there, the market is still there, and then investment will be there. And then the question about technology transfer. Also, a few facts. The automobile, oil efficiency in China is higher than you have in the United States. So this is one fact. The second one is that most of the automobiles produced in China are international brands, not that many the Chinese brands. So they are somewhat linked to the world sort of technological progress. If there's anything in the General Motors or Volkswagen or the Japanese Toyota, once they have the latest technology, and then it is applied in China to produce new automobiles, new cars. And thirdly, China, we have some domestic automobile factories, and they have been growing very fast, and they have their own technical capacity for development. So I talked to a few chief CEOs of some of the automobile industries, and they seem to be somewhat confident in the future because China, the market is growing and it's huge, and then if they have something new, and then probably China will not be able to take the lead, but will join the international forces to have the latest technologies, in particular like the fuel cells, like electrical cars, like also solar powered vehicles. These are somewhat far away, but investment has been made, and also in China as a top-down society, the central government has been allocating enormous amount of resources for pushing this process. So I do have some confidence that this industry will be somewhat bright in the future.
Yeah. Just real quick, we got one quick comment from Xu Guangting, and then we're going to have to close you out.
Thank you. I will add some word on the automobile sector. Professor Pan talks a lot. I agree with him, but there are already fuel economy standards for passenger cars in China and for business cars. The phase 1 and phase 2 economy standards for passenger cars already implemented in China. The phase 2 started in at the beginning of this year, and the more stricter economy standards for passenger car, which is will be called phase 3, will be are expected in 1 or 2 years or maybe 3 years. Because of the command and control policies, the automobile companies important or giant research and development almost all of the new technologies to meet the standards. So from 2002 to 2006, the average fuel consumption of passenger cars dropped dramatically, about 11.5%. So I think it's a great success.
Isn't it nice? We had a climate meeting and we kind of ended on a positive note. I do want to note that again, for the question about what's driving China to do this energy efficiency stuff. Don't forget, we've had many meetings here. The impacts of air pollution on the economy and human health in China are severe, and that those aren't just going to go away. And I think that is a big catalyst. The climate discussion doesn't hurt it. I need to end the meeting first by thanking the speakers. Applause.